Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, with higher rates and fewer buyers that can afford a home, I would think that there are quite a few home sellers who have homes that are not selling right now. So, what are the reasons that they're not selling? And more importantly, what can they do about that?
Well, the interest rates have a huge impact on the buyer's ability to buy. Right before the election, the rates were down at 6.10. Now I think my last check was yesterday, it's at 7.24. So over a point higher wipes out at least 10% of the available buyers. So I've got a graph in front of me that shows that, pending sales, they did head back up whenever we had a drop in interest rates. It's very much an inverse relationship. But some of that, I think, is seasonality. There's always going to be demand for homes. People find a way to afford it. They might need closing costs. They might need, to buy the interest rate down to afford the payment. So you have to be, it's leaning towards a buyer's market. So if you're a seller, you have to be more flexible with price and concessions to get it to the finish line right now. I've got 6 properties right now that are owned by the VA. And typically, whenever they go on the market, they just fly off the shelf because they price them at the low end of the comps. But even those are taking a long time to move. So it's really surprising what's going on in the market right now. And what my coach taught me years ago is if your home is not selling, it's two things. It's either price or marketing. Marketing we can fix. That's easy. Okay, but pricing, the seller decides. And the way you make it work is you price what I call very realistically, not optimistically, because they won't make an offer. A lot of people ask me that question. They're like, well, won't they just make an offer and we can negotiate? And the answer is no, they won't. You have to have it priced just right to get them to say yes. So typically, though, the good news is we see the most sales going into the spring and we see the highest prices going into the spring. So don't worry too much about what happened in the past. I feel pretty optimistic that, when Trump walks into the White House here next week, it's going to be a good thing and he's going to turn the economy around. It may not happen instantly, but I'd say by the summer, we're going to see some improvement because this is a great place to live. So I don't think we're going to lose any buyers. They're just sitting on the sideline waiting for the magic moment to be able to afford homes in this area. So right now, sales are down and affordability is absolutely the issue, but I wouldn't worry too much about that going into the future. I look at a lot of different statistical data. There's one that I been just started using. I don't know if I'm going to keep using him because for him the glass is always half full, and he's sure the real estate market's going to implode like it did in 2008. And I don't think so. I really don't. I think the demographics work against that theory. And it's definitely more of a buyer's market. We saw a massive boom between 2019 and 2023, but some of that was government inflicted by artificially low interest rates. So as we normalize and people get used to it, they're going to get back in the game. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's just going to take a little bit of time to shake out. And one thing, if you're selling right now and you get a buyer to make an offer, yeah, I had an asset manager. Those are people that work for these big organizations, either they're government entities or lenders, and they sell massive amounts of homes that have been taken back in foreclosure. And this one quote from this guy one time said, "Don't let the buyer get away." And he was right. You have to work with them and keep them informed and love on them because they're half of the equation, right? It kind of depends. Like I had one seller recently that turned away a couple of offers before they got the right one. So good on them because it's a risk to say no to a buyer, but this one buyer that they got, they came in so low on the first offer that they wouldn't even counter. And so I had to tell the agent, I'm sorry, we're just too far apart. So then they came up a little bit and we countered at a reasonable price. And they're like, nope, it's our way or the highway. So the seller's like, no, we're not willing to do that. You know, we gave you a fair counter. And a week later, boom, we get full price cash offer. So that waiting just a couple more days put $20,000 more in their pocket. So that's a good thing. But you know, if you have time and you're not in a huge hurry, it's okay to wait for the right buyer. If you are getting offers, you're definitely priced in the ballpark. You're in the range, you're getting some interest, and maybe it takes waiting for the right buyer. But in general, part of the problem right now is that it really does take a lot of income to afford these payments at these higher interest rates. So the way people are doing workarounds and the way the builders and stuff are working around is they're actually offering to buy down the interest rate and get a lower rate for the buyer to get them to say yes and get in the door. But in general, if the house is not selling, it's either marketing or pricing, or it could be both. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This month marks the 29th year I've been selling real estate in the Front Range area. And I own Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and I'm also the host of the show, Your Real Estate Voice. And so what we're talking about right now is the top reasons why a house is not selling. And next up, what we're going to cover are some of the things that you can do to get it sold. So if you are thinking of making a move and you want to give us a call, a lot of people call us to find out, hey, what do I do? What do I not do to get my house ready for sale? We'll not only give you that service, but we'll show up with hundreds of buyers that are a high match for homes for your home, even cash buyers. We show up with cash offers. Nobody else does that. And that way you have choices. And if you don't like the cash offers, some of them are good, some of them, not so much. That's all right. You can, you know that you've got that in your back pocket. And so when another buyer comes along and says, hey, I'm interested in bringing my buyer's offer. Do you have any other offers? What we can say is, yes, we do. Bring us your best and highest offer. And that's what we're trying to get for everybody. So give us a call anytime. My name is Barb Schlinker, 719-301-3900. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're talking about why a house may not be selling. We know what rising interest rates mean. Fewer buyers can afford the higher payments. So, what are some of the other reasons why a house just may not be selling?
Well, you know, if you look at all this financial data, which is confusing for a lot of people, like we were talking in between the segment about this one senator was saying, oh, well, we want the Fed to lower the rates so mortgage rates come down. They are not related at all. It's all about the government spending too much money. It's all about inflation. That's what's causing the mortgage rates to be higher and higher. So if they get that under control, if the economy, and at the same time the economy starts booming, I think we'll see the rates settle down a little bit less. So, you know, right now the rates are probably hovering around 7.24 for conventional and mid sixes for FHA and VA loans. So, getting back to your question, the reason is a couple of things when your house is not selling. You have to really, really objectively look at the marketing and go, okay, would I want to go buy that house? And have your most blunt relative look at the pictures and tell them to be blunt with you and have them tell you what they are seeing, because nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings about feedback, but there are a lot of agents that don't study marketing, and sometimes it's just simple things like yesterday I was looking through some similar sales, negotiating a contract, and I was getting annoyed because the way the agent stacked the order of the photos, there were probably 15 photos of the outside before I got to the inside of the home. And what I was trying to do was assess, okay, how does this home compare to the home that sold, to the home that I am negotiating on right now? And what happened was about, you know, that many pictures later, I finally get to look at the inside, which was very unimpressive. But if the average buyer spends less than a minute looking at homes, guess what? they are not going to go through all those pictures. They're going to move on in less than a minute. So you have to hire the agent that really knows how to stack the photos to make the buyers go, oh my gosh, I want to see that home. That one very much interests me. And there's a way to do that, and there's a way not to do that. Um, and then pricing is another thing. You also have to look at what the competition looks like, because that's something that we're experiencing right now. I just got off the phone with the seller, and he's like, wow, all of a sudden there's a lot of competing homes in my neighborhood on the market. I said, I know, there's a lot more homes on the market. There's a lot of competition. We have to position your home to be the best available home on the market to get a buyer right now. So we set out with a strategy to make that happen. And we help people do that all the time. But if your home isn't selling, don't panic. Right now, the average days on market in most of the counties along the Front Range is over 100 days. But the ones that are priced right, the ones that are priced realistically, not optimistically, the ones that are marketed correctly, it doesn't take over 100 days. It might take 2, 3, or 4 weeks, but definitely not 100 days. So make sure you're looking at the competition. And here are some of the things that could cause a home not to sell. Number one, price too high. Number two, any home that needs work, the buyers will turn their nose up on it. They don't want to do anything, right? If the home has poor curb appeal, they won't even ask to come inside. If the home is poorly photographed, they'll pass it by. That seems surprising, doesn't it, Richard, that they don't like the pictures, they won't even go look at it?
Yes, right. I mean, that seems like that would be an issue.
Right, but you can't get them in the door if they don't like the photos.
Exactly.
Um,
And if they're looking at the outside and never even get to look at the inside because they're only going to take a minute.
Right. And it's sometimes when you are showing and you get feedback, listen to that. And if you're getting some generic stuff, there are some agents. I used to do it when I was younger where they'd ask for feedback and I'm like, I didn't put a lot of thought into it, or I hadn't asked the buyer what their thought was, what was their opinion. And that's probably more important with the lack of standardization in the real estate industry. They may not be asking the buyer what they think. And I think that's a good question with a buyer. What do you think of the home? What do you think of the price? How did it compare to the other homes? Some will give you that feedback. Some maybe don't even ask. And you have to have zero emotional attachment to the home. I know that's hard to do. Most people love their homes, right? But you want to make sure that you are um, you know, don't worry about the fact that you have to declutter to get pictures. It's okay to have 1 or 2 family pictures, but don't cover a whole wall with your life story because that's distracting to the buyer. They have to visualize themselves in the home, and you have to present it so that they do that. And just make sure you don't have anything offensive, like odors sometimes can really affect a buyer. Things like pet odors, cooking odors. The only odor that's not offensive is if you get some cookie dough and bake some cookies before the showing. That's a good thing. So if you are thinking of making a move, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. That's what we do. My name is Barb Schlinker, and I'm the host and the broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Richard?
Give a call, 719-301-3900. Ask for Barb. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. Barb Schlinker is your real estate voice. Your home sold, guaranteed realty. And again, if you're thinking of making a move, 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. That's a great place to start. When we come back, we'll be discussing what to ask a real estate agent when you're interviewing them.